Of course, you want to guard your heart. But as I've walked alongside people as they heal and recover from abusive relationships, I've seen how often this mistrust can create the very hurt and pain that you're trying to avoid. And as you endure even more hurt and pain in your relationships, it just makes the possibility of trusting anyone new feel even more distant. But it doesn't have to be this way. So in this video, I'm going to unpack 3 ways that mistrust can hurt your relationships. Let me know in the comments which you most relate to, or if there's something else you'd like to add. The first way that mistrust can harm your relationships is by leading you to avoid intimacy. This means you try to keep yourself safe by never letting anyone get close enough to hurt you. And this can take many forms. You might keep conversations light and superficial, steering away from sharing any personal thoughts or feelings. You might avoid telling people when you're really struggling, brushing them off with "I'm fine," when deep down inside you're anything but. Perhaps you use jokes and humor to deflect from painful emotions. Maybe you keep partners at a physical distance, or perhaps you end relationships just as they're starting to get more serious and the other person is getting close. Or maybe you immerse yourself in work or in hobbies, so there's little time left for connection or closeness. There are countless ways that this can manifest, and truthfully, all of us have probably used some of them at some time or another. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a good idea to bare your soul to every person you ever meet or in every situation. So these kind of boundaries or barriers definitely have their place. But when avoiding intimacy becomes the norm, when it begins to impact every relationship, you deny yourself something deeply and profoundly human. Your very real need for emotional connection is not going to be met. On the surface, keeping everyone at a distance feels like self-protection. And maybe you even tell yourself that you're strong, you're autonomous, you're independent, you don't need to rely on anyone other than yourself. You survived. And now you stand alone. And by the way, all of those things can absolutely be true. And I applaud you. I cheer you on, because I know that after surviving an abusive relationship, being able to stand strong, being able to feel like you stand on your own 2 feet, that you're able to be independent, that you can be your own person, is absolutely vital. And it takes no small amount of strength in order to get to that place. But you are still human, and you still have a very real need for closeness and connection. And when that independence comes at the expense of being able to meet those emotional needs, you end up lonely and isolated. And that painful sense of disconnection from other people will only deepen your belief that they can't be trusted. So what happens if someone breaks through those barriers? If they start to get close to you? Well, then you might be tempted to employ the second strategy, hypervigilance. When someone gets close to you and you're convinced that people can't be trusted, this is going to set off your alarm bells. You are going to have a sense that you're in great danger, and then you might turn into a little bit of a detective, watching out for signs of danger. You'll find yourself scrutinizing every word, every action, every silence, constantly on the lookout for some sign that this person is not trustworthy, that they're lying to you, that they're abusing you, or they're taking advantage of you in some way. You might replay conversations in your head, searching for inconsistencies in what they're saying, anything that might indicate that they're not being completely honest with you. Or maybe you overanalyze absolutely everything. So a delay in responding to you means they're with someone else. If they seem quiet or distracted, they're hiding something from you. They're secretly angry at you. You might have the urge to look through their phone for suspicious messages, or check their social media profile, go through their photographs, looking for clues and looking for anything that might confirm your very worst fears. Or perhaps you question them repeatedly about minor details, demanding to know where they've been every moment of the day, who they've been with, what they've been doing, all the time searching for evidence that all is not as it seems. All of this is going to feel like self-protection. Part of you will be thinking, I'm never going to be cheated on again. I'm never going to be abused again. I'm never going to be taken for a fool again. I'm not going to allow that to happen. The problem is, mistrust is taking over absolutely everything. It's capturing your thoughts. It's controlling your emotions. It's dictating how you act. It's going to magnify every doubt that you have, and it's going to misinterpret completely neutral things as signs of threat. It's going to prevent you from being able to see things clearly, and you're going to find yourself accusing someone of doing something terrible when there's really no evidence to suggest that they have, or you'll find yourself starting a completely unnecessary fight. That hypervigilance creates tension and conflict and may even drive a loyal and loving partner away. And when that happens, you're probably not oblivious to the role that you have played in the demise of that relationship. And that probably leaves you feeling guilty and ashamed. And as you feel guilty and ashamed, that has another effect. Now, not only do you find it hard to trust other people, you also find it hard to trust yourself. It is painful to recognize ways that you may have caused hurt to yourself, to people you care about, and to your relationships. But by having that courage to see it, you should be very hopeful, because your willingness to see it, your willingness to look at it, is exactly what gives you the opportunity to think about doing things differently. And as you do, hopefully you're going to be able to rebuild more of that trust in yourself. And that's really important, because the third way that the mistrust you have in yourself and in other people can create more distrust in your relationships is by leading you to look for a hero. Living with a deep sense of mistrust is exhausting. Having to be constantly on the lookout, trying to protect yourself, watching for signs of betrayal or abuse, trying to spot the narcissist or the psychopath or the next person who's going to betray you, is just soul destroying. And it leaves you lonely, isolated, and disconnected. And that makes looking for a heroic partner very, very tempting. In your shoes, who wouldn't want someone to ease your emotional pain? The one person you can rely on, the one person you trust, the one person with whom you can feel safe in a world full of narcissists, cheats, and abusers. It sounds like a dream come true. But having worked with survivors of abusive relationships for more than 15 years, nothing concerns me more than someone who's looking for a hero, someone who's looking for the ideal relationship for that one person with whom they can feel completely safe. You see, that dream can very often turn into your worst nightmare. And here's why. Highly narcissistic, controlling, and abusive people may be very drawn to that heroic role that you seem to offer them. You see, they too experience a deep sense of mistrust in other people, and very often a fear of abandonment. One way they can alleviate those fears is by seeking a partner who really needs them. Because someone who relies only on them, someone who struggles to trust their own judgment, someone who doesn't have confidence in other people to be warm and supportive to them, is someone who will not leave. They might work very hard to keep your confidence low, so you don't feel like you could rely on yourself, so you see yourself as weak, so you see yourself as in need of them. They may encourage your mistrust and keep you isolated from other people, so they stay the center of your universe. But it makes it impossible to know who you are or to imagine life without them. When you first meet, it can feel like two kindred spirits, two people who've been deeply hurt, two people who don't have other people to rely on. And that can create a very strong sense of chemistry between you. And at the beginning, that chemistry feels like a warm embrace for both of you. Maybe after a long period of isolation and loneliness, finally you have someone who understands you, someone who wants to be there for you. It feels like everything you've ever longed for. But that warm embrace can become a stranglehold that suffocates your very sense of self. You don't have a hero. You have a nightmare in shining armor. And you don't have a safe haven. You have an emotional and psychological prison. True safety doesn't come from having someone else save you. And neither does it come from being isolated and alone. And it doesn't come from hypervigilance. It's going to come from within, from trusting yourself and your ability to navigate life on your own terms. We've talked about some very painful and difficult things in this video, but I don't want you feeling hopeless or disheartened. By understanding your patterns, you can strategically act to break these vicious cycles and nurture trust in your relationships. And if you're ready to do that and you want some practical strategies that will help you build trust in yourself and in your relationships, check out this video right here.